Hey, 8th grade, let's talk about this slope formula practice sheet. Today is Thursday, April 30th. This is going over what we've been working on this week and part of last week, learning about slope. And this time we're looking at slope when we're given 2 points on the line. Therefore, we have to do it a little differently than we had in the past. So the slope of the line containing 2 points, x1, y1, and y2, y2, can be found using the formula below. So the formula that we've been using this week is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And when I get my points like this, I go in and I label them. Like when I have numbers here, 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 and here, I then put x1 or y1 above them, x2, y2. That helps me keep it organized. So in other words, m, which is your slope, is equal to the change in y over the change in x. So let's find the slope of the line containing the points -4, 1, and 2, 3. So let's start. We're going to label them. This is x1. This is x2. This is y1. This is y2. Now I'm going to go back to use this formula. So I'm going to start with y2, which is 3. 3 minus y1, which is 1, all over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is -4. So when you're working with negatives, remember, if it's going to be in the problem, put it in a parenthesis like I did. So now we just solve this. 3 minus 1, that's nice and simple, 2. But 2 minus a -4, we have to use our algebra rules for subtracting a negative number. Therefore, that becomes keep the 2, change the minus to a plus, and take the opposite of the second number. And then we just have 2 plus 4, which we then know is 6. So 2, 6, here's the thing though, that can be reduced. So when you can reduce a fraction, that just means that it's not in its simplest form. 2, 6 can be reduced because both the 2 and the 6 are divisible by 2. When I do 2 divided by 2, I get 1. When I do 6 divided by 2, I get 3. And then I know my slope is 1/3, and that would be up 1 over 3, because this is my rise value, and this is my run value. So here you have some further images just to show what we did. I had broken it down a little bit differently, but as you know, I did here. 3 minus 1 is right here, and 3 minus 1 is here. And then I did 2 minus a -4 here, and that's right here. And we got the same thing. And then right here is just where it was reduced. You should know that if you use this as your slope, if you had to graph it on a line, your line would be the same as that. But for purposes of algebra, we really like to work with the reduced fraction. We're going to rewrite some more weird fractions here, okay? It's really just about what number can go into both parts of the fraction and can go in evenly, and then we can reduce them. And then there's also those negatives that are involved. And it's important just to remember your rules about multiplying and dividing negatives. So remember, these are all division, essentially. If they are both negative or they are both positive, as in both the numerator and the denominator, then your answer is positive. However, if you have one negative number and one positive number, then your answer is negative. So -3/9, I look at that and I know my answer is going to be negative because I have a -3, but I have a +9. Now, 3 and 9, I have to think what number is compatible with both 3 and 9. Luckily, 3 is. So if I divide each part by 3, I would get, I'm going to put this down here. Negative 3 divided by 3 would be negative 1. And 9 divided by 3 would be 3, which then makes my answer negative 1/3. For the second one, 4 over 10. 4 and 10, those are both even numbers, right? So I can divide each by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Both numbers are positive, so it just stays like that. The third one, 4 divided by 1. Well, this is something that I know I've talked to a couple of you about this week. 4 divided by 1 is 4. When we have a 1 as the denominator, we reduce this to a whole number, and we get 4 as our answer. Let's look at number 4. Negative 7 divided by 1, very similar to the last one we just did. The only difference is that there's a negative. So instead of having 7 as a whole number, we have negative 7 as a whole number. I just realized I'm circling everything, the numbers and the answers, which might make this confusing, and if that is the case, I do apologize. For negative 2 over negative 3, those numbers are not very compatible. We can't reduce 2/3. The only thing is since we're doing a negative by a negative, it now becomes positive, and our answer is positive 2/3. Same thing with the next one. 1/8 can't be reduced anyway, but negative 1 over negative 1, over negative 8, since they're both negative, would then become positive. So you'd be looking at 1/8 as a positive number. So let's keep going. 4 over negative 7. 4 and 7, I can't reduce those numbers. The only thing I have to note is when I have my slope, it would be a negative 4/7 slope. That's it. Not a lot to do there. Same thing with the next one. It stays negative 1/8 as your answer because there's one positive and one negative. The next two are both 0 divided by something. 0 divided by 12 and 0 divided by negative 2. Well, if you divide 0 by another number, you always are going to get 0. So you just would be rewriting that as 0. And then finally, 12 divided by 0 and then negative 2 divided by 0. You can't divide numbers by 0. When that happens, we call this undefined. It's a mathy term. So let's do some slope problems now. Let's find the slope of the lines containing the following points. And all you're going to do on these is use that formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to do a couple for you guys, but then I'm going to leave some for you to work on your own. Let's label them, all right? This is y2. This is y1. This is x2. This is x1. Now I'm just going to fill in those numbers where they belong in the formula. y2 is 2 minus y1 is negative 1. All right, I'm going to start with the 6 minus 4 because that's easy. 2. 2 minus a minus 1, I have to change opposite. So that becomes 2 plus a plus 1. And then you get 3. 3 halves. Now, 3 halves, we would reduce that if we were, doing division or something to 1 1/2. But that doesn't work in this situation. We have to leave it as 3 halves because we need a rise over a run. So we're going to leave it just like that for slope. Let's do another one. This is x. Whoops, let's be consistent here. x1, x2, y1, y2. So So that means it's 7 minus 7 over negative 11 minus 3. All right, well, 7 minus 7, that's 0, right? And then a negative 11 minus 3, they're the same sign, they're both negatives. So we combine them and we keep the sign, which is negative 14. 0 divided by negative 14. What did we learn about on this page about anything 0 divided by? We learned that it would be 0. So that means that the slope in this case is a 0 slope, which means it would be a straight line like that. No slope, just a nice flat line. Let's try one more. X1, X2. So we have 10 minus 4 all over minus 5 minus a minus 5. All right, well, 10 minus 4, we got that. We know that's 6. But a minus 5 minus a minus 5. That is the same thing as keep, change, change. So a negative 5 plus 5, which then is 0. So that means that the answer to this one is 6 over 0. Well, anything divided by 0 is undefined. So that would mean that this one is undefined. And that means that the line is straight up and down. But we can't calculate the slope of a straight up and down line, which is why we call it undefined in math. All right, you guys have 3 more to do. You should try them on your own. Use my setup here. Use the formula. Make yourself some marks and notes to keep track of it all. It's not that bad. Make sure that if you have trouble with your integer, addition and subtraction, get a number line out or Google one. Because if you Google a number line with negatives, you'll come up with plenty of options to help you. All right, guys, good luck finishing up. Have a great afternoon. Bye.